Okay. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. I bow before all my teachers, respected gurus, as today is the Guru Purnima day, and which is a very auspicious for all of us. I express gratitude to all my teachers and colleagues and seniors of this my journey, and my parents too. Good evening, one and all. I welcome to this session of macro discussion on micronutrients in pediatrics. Nutrition is essential for human growth, particularly in newborns and children, as optimal growth needs a correct diet in order to ensure an adequate intake of macronutrients and micronutrients. What do you mean by macronutrients? They are the compounds that human consumes in largest quantities, mainly classified in carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. While micronutrients are instead those components of diet that do not provide a significant contribution on caloric intake, but are considered crucial for health and vital functions, even though they are needed in smaller amounts. They principally include vitamins, both fat soluble and water soluble, and minerals like, for example, iodine, iron, calcium, phosphorus, zinc, etc. Except for vitamin D, micronutrients are not produced in body, but they have to be derived from our daily diet. So at least half of the children worldwide less than 5 years of the age suffer from this vitamin and mineral deficiencies, and these lead to very various causes of dangerous health conditions, which lead to clinically notable reduction in energy level, mental clarity, in overall capacity, and also this leads to decrease in the educational outcomes of the children, decrease work productivity, and the increased risk for other diseases and health conditions. Many of these deficiencies are preventable through nutrition education and consumption of a healthy diet containing diverse food, as well as food fortifications and supplementation. And so this today's webinar is on this important topic, where we welcome our speaker, Ms. Cheryl Salis ma'am, who is the renowned dietitian. Her CV will be followed in a short while. On this occasion, Academy of Pediatrics Maharashtra, I Dr. Renu Boralkar, who is the chairperson of Women's Committee MAHAP. I request our respected president, Dr. Gangolia sir, to please guide us on this topic.
Good evening. Thank you, madam. Good evening and namaste to respected speakers. Today's speaker, Madam Cheryl. Then our moderators, Dr. Renu Madam, who is also MAHAP Women Committee Chairman, and Dr. Anjali Madam from Palghar, as well as my Secretary General, Dr. Amol Pawar, Dr. Neha Singh, Editor, as well as Dr. Jay Kumar Bhandarkar, State Convener, and all the viewers who are on this viewer to see this program. We welcome everybody as well. On today's the auspicious days of the Guru Purnima. So today we have Madam Cheryl as a guru today for us to discuss all the things about. But personally, I feel all of us, each one is guru to each one another in one form or another in this undefined life journey, which is destined. But of course, we learn from each other's own experience as well as others' experiences. So we are surely guru in one form of another to one another. On behalf of Academy of Pediatrics, MAHAP, we would like to thank Catchet Pharma to just support this academic science. This is the third episode we are getting support from Catchet Pharma, and we look forward to them to the continuous support to this brilliant academic scientific session, which is enriched ones. Today's topic regarding micronutrients, as the name suggests, micronutrients, probably being micronutrients, it gets missed in our discussions. Also, it gets missed in our intake, and most of the time we don't think about these micronutrients, but they have very important role to play in the all the metabolism reactions in our to have the good life. And I think so we would have the good information regarding these micronutrients, and the topic which was brilliantly suggested by Dr. Jay Bhandarkar, state convener, discussion on micronutrients, but in macro discussion. So I think so. Let's have a macro discussion on this topic and just get enlightened again regarding micronutrients. Thank you, Renu, madam.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir, for your so much kind words. Now, our dynamic secretary, Dr. Amol Pawar, will like to express his ideas on this program. Sir, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Renima. Good evening, everyone. Today is the third episode of this Catch It Pharma Association. And today we'll be having Dr. Cheryl Salis. She is a nutrition specialist, and I welcome her on behalf of MahaIP team. And these micronutrients are required for integrity and optimal functioning of the immune system. And uh, because of these deficiencies, babies may develop various infections and thus triggering the vicious cycle of undernutrition and recurrent infections. So these play a very important role in immune system of children, and mainly under 5 babies. They will get lot of infection because of their deficiencies. So in next 30 to 40 minutes, we'll be having we'll be getting knowledge from none other than Dr. Cheryl Salis, who is nutrition specialist. I welcome her and thank you. Thank you, Renima.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Amol, for your kind words. Now, I request Dr. Jay Bhandarkar, sir, to please unmute himself. He is the state convener and the idea behind this module. So, please, sir, we would like to hear from you on this topic.
Thank you, Dr. Renu and Dr. Anjali, and all of you. I welcome all the delegates or viewers on this dais today. And let us understand this. Though all of us get a lot of fat or carbohydrates or proteins, we think of this there's a main portion of our diet. But all other nutrients are almost, folic acid is where 100% deficiency. Then B12 or he there's almost 40 to 45%. And you can talk about calcium, vitamin D, others. So when there's a lot of studies are there and they are quite deficient, you have to supplement from the outside. And unfortunately, 40 to 50% of under 5 kids are, I can say, at the risk of not reaching to their physical potential as well as a mental, I can think the IQ level may be very less, so that they can have a less productivity. So these things are very, very important. First 2-3 years, we know that epigenetics are first 1,000 days, that when the child is conceived or mother is conceived and the child is a second birthday. So this period is very important for the growth of the child physically as well as mentally. So this is the one of the important very factor for that can deficiency can lead to the it is I can say intellectual level. So let us get some pulse from Cheryl madam for this. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Jay. Now I will welcome Dr. Anjali Gokarn, madam. She is the moderator for this session along with me. Dr. Anjali Gokarn, madam, she is a senior pediatrician working for last more than 35 years in this pediatrics era. And also she is currently the IAP president of Palghar branch. So, madam, I will hand over to you for the further proceedings. Welcome to you.
Thank you, Renu. And on this platform, I bow to all our faculty over here, Dr. Hemant, Dr. Amol, Dr. Jay, our colleagues, Neha and Renu, and I welcome Dr. Cheryl Salis. And when we were growing up, there was a saying in English that for want of a shoe, a kingdom was lost. That means a horse didn't have a shoe and so he couldn't run, and then the messenger couldn't go, and then the king lost the whole kingdom. So just for the want of micronutrients, we can lose all the benefits of macronutrients. So small but mighty. That is what is the theme of today. And when we discuss, and we have all heard how important it is to have all micronutrients. And when we thought of this subject, you cannot think of a better person than Dr. Cheryl Salis. And I'd like to share screen with you. Many months ago, we had can you see my?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So we had a webinar on diabetes in children, and we had Dr. Cheryl as a speaker. And Dr. Rajesh Joshi, an endocrinologist, spoke, and I said, what can a dietitian tell us more than what Dr. Rajesh has said? But what Dr. Cheryl told us absolutely floored us, because she spoke of very, very, basic, simple things. And yesterday, when I was speaking with her, she said she's going to speak about something from farm to table. So I had not even thought of this concept. When we talk of micronutrients, we talk of Nelson and we think of those chapters we omitted. But here she's going to talk about what are the myths in, nutrition, and how these micronutrients, although they are plenty in what we eat, how they are lost by the very fact of how we store them, how we wash them, and this is what she's going to include. So I don't have to tell you, once you hear her, you will understand what all this means. She has a very rich experience over the last 22 years in the field of diabetes, and she has authored so many. Don't be fooled by her looks. It's because she includes all the micronutrients. She looks as young as she does, but she has an experience of over 20 years. So she has written this book, Diet in Diabetes Simplified, and she's the author of this. So not just this, she has also written the Purple Book, which is Eat Right India. It's a handbook on diet for diseases. And if that's not enough, she's also written Healthy Eating and Carbohydrate Counting for Children and Adults with Type 1 Diabetes. And she's also written this book, Your Family Guide to Healthy Eating and Living. Eat wise, walk a mile, live a life with a smile, test yourself once a while. Wonderful, wonderful to have such a speaker. And it's just, it's coincidental that this comes on such a lovely day and auspicious day for learning on Guru Purnima. Over to you, Cheryl, and we are eager to hear more.
Before Madam starts, I would like to suggest one thing to Madam. Please get this book translated in vernacular languages, Marathi and Hindi.
The family guide is in Marathi and Hindi.
Yes.
In fact, even my book has been translated by one of my patients in Hindi, but honestly, I have been so busy that I have not had the time to get this in place, but definitely the plan is there. So we definitely going to do that. And I think it's wonderful being with all of you this evening, and what a beautiful day to be with all of you. Like we said, we all learn from each other. And I think for all of us, we'll agree that our patients are our biggest gurus. And whatever we have learned, honestly, there's so much that we learn from them every single day. And so happy Guru Purnama to all of you. And I'm going to be discussing, I think it's a very interesting topic. In fact, when Dr. Bhandarkar told me to speak on macro discussion on micronutrients, I was like, how much can I speak? But then, as I thought about it, there was so much to discuss it. So I'm just going to start my presentation. Just allow me. Yeah. My screen is visible.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just going to start. So the topic is macro discussion on micronutrients in pediatrics. And I think all of us summarized it so well that this is one thing we don't speak about. We speak about macronutrients. I think the whole focus is always carbohydrate, protein, and fat, but nobody really goes into understanding what is micronutrients. And I think in the COVID times, we really understood, people started looking at micronutrients because there was an overdose of zinc and vitamin C, and everybody was just taking it. And suddenly it became the buzzword, and immunity became such a big buzzword. And in the name of immunity, we were getting even immune khakras being sold, and immunity churans being sold, and I think they did a lot of business. So when we're looking, yes, it is very important. We're looking at adequate nutrition, and like sir said, 1,000 days of life, and this is so important. And today it's wonderful to see mothers who come to us for a consultation when they get pregnant, or even before they plan to get pregnant. And I think it's great because today they've realized the importance of nutrition right from the time they conceive, or even before they conceive, to the early days of life. And I think that's a big change that honestly I am seeing in my clinic in the last, from 22 years ago till now. And it's really very gratifying to see women taking care of their nutrition. And we all have discussed this, that nutrition deficiency can definitely impact growth. And we are definitely seeing stunting of growth in children who are not nourished well, cognitive development being impaired, and overall development with muscle development. And already we grow up to be sarcopenic. So very important is to look at nutrition. And I always tell parents, because today there's so much of information which is there on social media. And honestly, I see a lot of children with type 1 diabetes. And carbohydrates are the new villain today, especially when it comes to type 1 diabetes. They feel that, I don't want to give carbohydrates, I don't need to give insulin. And they go on these very, very low carbohydrate diets. The mothers just learn recipes on WhatsApp from the others and follow these diets. And we are seeing stunting of growth. We are seeing hemoglobin levels, anemia setting in. So nutrition, especially micronutrients, play such an important role. And we all know that though macronutrients is something that we discuss, but micronutrients are very essential for assimilation, for absorption and utilization of all the macronutrients. Now, when we take dietary recalls, and I'm sure you all will agree with me that when we are taking dietary recalls of our children today, right from breakfast till dinner is all very, very unhealthy food, because ordering in has become very common. Eating out has become very common. Mothers are not, are sometimes busy at work. And then they open a packet of biscuits, open a packet of chips, and then that is what they would eat. And when you ask children also, what do you like? It's always noodles, it's pizza, it's pasta. Nobody says, I like chapati bhaji. And that is typically what they eat. And today, dinners, when I'm taking dietary recalls today, we are seeing dinners are being replaced by these very high fat, high simple carb snacks. So it's a pani puri for dinner. In fact, just now, as I was, we were starting, I got a voice note from one of my type 1 10-year-old girls that, can I eat pani puri for dinner today? So this is what has become common. So sev puri, pani puri. In fact, that day I met a parent who says that she does not repeat a single recipe for 45 days. And she was boasting about it. She's got a 45 days menu. And when we went through the menu, it was all of this. It was chaat, it was sandwich, it was pani puri. So, that is the kind of food that they've been eating. While I'm not saying that it's not great, it's always good to have variety, but we're looking at nutrient density. So does the meal really provide you with the nutrition that it's supposed to provide you? And that is where we are seeing a huge gap. And that is where we are looking at malnutrition. We are definitely seeing a very high number of children with obesity in our clinic today. In fact, the pandemic, we're seeing more and more children with obesity, but are they really nourished? They're still malnourished. And that is why we're looking at a dual burden of malnourishment, whether it is children who are underweight, not being able to get food because of food insecurity and food poverty. But we're also looking at the other dimension where we're seeing a lot of children who are overweight, but are still malnourished. And that is our biggest challenge today. And how do we look at making food more interesting, more palatable, more appealing, while still keeping the nutrition quotient, intact? And therefore, we're looking at micronutrients. And I think this is so important, and I'm going to discuss. One is, yes, I'll take you all through the different micronutrients and their sources. But like Dr. Anjali said, I think it's very important for each one of us to understand about from farm to fork. Are we really getting the nutrition? And that is what I'm going to deliberate on the second part of my presentation. Now we had the new guidelines which came out. So we follow the National Institute of Nutrition guidelines, and we had the new guidelines released in 2020-21. And today we have the estimated average requirements. And yes, we do have recommendations for RDA as well as ER by the NIN for different nutrients, whether it is all your macro as well as your micronutrients. And this is easily available on the website of NIN. Now, we all know that micronutrient deficiencies represent a hidden form of hunger. So there is hidden hunger, and this can definitely impact. We've seen its impact on immunity. We've seen its impact on cognitive development and on growth and overall development of the person. And yes, we're looking at micronutrients, but very important is that not all micronutrients, like we said, is made by the body. And therefore, we need to consume it daily. And therefore, consumption of the right nutritious diet is extremely important, is because some of them are not being able to get stored into the body. And also very important is some of them are lost during the process of cooking. And I'm going to be discussing that in detail. Now, when we're looking at vitamin A, now vitamin A is essential, we all know, for normal vision, immune function, and it's also needed for growth and development. Now, we know that when there is, it is seen that 1 in 5 children are estimated to have vitamin A deficiency. So vitamin A deficiency exists. Now, deficiency, we all know that. I think this took me back to my son's books, because this is what he's studying in science. And we all have learned this right from the beginning, that West vitamin A deficiency causes night blindness, and in severe cases can also cause complete vision loss. But yes, it also impacts immunity, increases your chance of getting infections, and it also impairs growth. Now, this is what the guidelines of recommendations are for vitamin A in the diet for each age group. So when we're looking at a 0 to 18, there are recommendations for that is the estimated average requirements for vitamin A from the diet. Now, when we're looking at vitamin A and beta-carotene sources, we know that vitamin A is present in milk, egg yolk, and therefore, I remember when I started my practice, I used to tell everybody to discard the yolk, and I'm sure you all have also done it, because yolk was considered to be bad because of the cholesterol. But today we insist that whether it's a pregnant woman or whether it's a child or it's an adult, they eat the egg with the yolk, because yolk has a lot of essential nutrients. The white definitely has albumin, good protein, but the yolk has got the choline, the lutein, the vitamin A, the vitamin D is all in the yolk. And therefore, we insist, especially for children, to eat the egg with the yolk. And I would request you also to do it, because the new guidelines say that the cholesterol in the yolk is not as harmful if we have it within the recommended amounts. And in fact, we see that it gives very good satiety. It also gives you 6 grams of protein. And protein is definitely a nutrient of concern in our population. But we're looking at beta-carotene, which is available in all your vegetarian sources. And beta-carotene is converted to vitamin A. So the sources of beta-carotene, it's all your colored fruits and vegetables. So all your colored vegetables. And that's why we always say, I always tell the mothers, whenever you plan your menu, make it more colorful, because more color on your plate means better. Not only it's more appealing, but it's also good for health, because it brings along a lot of your important nutrients, a lot of your important antioxidants, which are so important, especially when we're looking at immune health. And if you look at the sources, they're very easily available in our local market. We do not have to go and buy exotic, expensive foods, because typically they think that when you go to a dietitian, she will prescribe something which is very expensive, or she will prescribe something which is not easily available. But that's not true. Sweet potatoes is something that children love. Your carrots, broccoli, dark green leafy vegetables, pumpkin, sunflower. And the darker the color of the pumpkin, the better it is, because it has more nutrition. So the yellow pumpkin, which we call bhopla, we use it in our food, whether it's, so your drumstick leaves. So, as simple as if you have a drumstick tree, you just pluck the leaves and make a vegetable. I remember growing up eating this at least once a week. And today it's become moringa, and it's being sold in thousands of rupees. And it's become a superfood today. But this is something that we grew up eating. Apricots, mango, tomatoes, and fortified foods, and some cereals. Now, vitamin C, I think this is again a very, very important nutrient. And we know the importance of it, because everybody started taking vitamin C supplements, especially during the COVID times. Potent antioxidants, very important for the immune cells, very important for collagen, carnitine, serotonin, and adrenaline production. And deficiency can cause scurvy. And very important is it also can reduce your immunity. So therefore, it is important to look at supplementing with the right vitamin C. It's also very important for bone formation. So deficiency of vitamin C can result in poor bone formation. We never think of vitamin C when it comes to the healthy bones. Now, these are the recommendations for vitamin C. I'm just going to go through this because this is available everywhere. So these are the recommendations. So there are the AR, which is the estimated average requirements for vitamin C as well. And now this is a question that I would like to ask you, because everybody, if I ask, what do they have for breakfast? Some of the mothers will give them those orange juice for breakfast, and they say, I'm giving orange juice because it's got vitamin C. What do you think? Yes or no? Is orange the highest or the best source of vitamin C?
Amla is.
Amla
is the best.
I think you all are too good. You all are too good. So most parents will say we give, and it's got so much of sugar, so they will juice 5 to 6 oranges. They'll remove out all the fiber and they will give that as a juice. And they think that is going to give the vitamin C. But honestly, it is the amla which is has the highest amount of vitamin C. And that's why we always tell. And the good part about amla is that even when it is not in season, if you store the amla and you eat it, or you make an amla powder and you consume it, it still will have its potency intact. And amla is, again, a very inexpensive food, which can be easily consumed by everybody.
Does amla murabba also is a resource?
Yeah, that's fine, but it's got sugar. So then that is what we would, this. So amla in itself, and children usually like khatta taste. So, this is something. Your bell peppers and your guava. Again, guava, they say, I remember there was a publication by NIN when they said that guava should have been the king of fruits because guava has the highest amount of antioxidants. So this is something we should encourage. Again, it's a good source of vitamin C as well. And then we have our lemons. Now, these are all our foods which are rich in vitamin C, whether it's your capsicum, whether it's your sprouts, whether it's lemon, sweet lime, citrus fruits. And that is why if you see in the December season, where our immunity is low, you know, God has planned nature so beautifully that when the immunity is low, you get foods which are rich in vitamin C, your fruits, whether it's your orange, you will get your guavas, you will get your strawberries, all of them are in that season. And that is because it is rich source of vitamin C. Even amla is available in that season more. Then we come to thiamine. Now, thiamine is nothing but your vitamin B1. It assists in the release of energy from carbohydrates and protein. We have all learned the Krebs cycle. And beriberi is one of the common deficiencies of thiamine causes your beriberi. Now, this is what, the EAR or the estimated average requirement for thiamine is. And I'm going to discuss as to how we lose thiamine by just processing the food, by having processed foods. So we do have cereals, but today we're having a lot of polished cereals. Polishing of cereals, actually, we lose our vitamin B1. And therefore, we have to tell our patients and our children to have foods which are unpolished, because that is where we will get the vitamin B1 from. So your cereals, your brown rice, peas, nuts, sunflower seeds, beans, and lentils. Lentils are your pulses. And that's why we always insist on having whole pulses. And I think in our part of the country, Maharashtra, we have usal, we have misal. So we do have all this, which is giving you the essential nutrients. And that is why we tell them that you go back to your grandmother's times and eat what your grandmother ate, because without understanding the science of nutrition, she still practiced it. But again, we cannot eat as much as they ate because they put in a lot of hard work and labor. Today, our children are exercising their fingers more than their bodies. So yes, they have to eat in portions, but make sure that what they eat is nutrient dense. Then we're looking at vitamin B3, which is niacin. Again, it can result in pellagra, and we all know the 4 Ds of pellagra. And it helps our bodies convert nutrients into energy. And therefore, it is so important in the metabolism, and it's very important in the carbohydrate, protein, and fat metabolism. It helps our body make fats and cholesterol, and it helps form and repair our genetic material. So niacin, again, is very, very important. Again, niacin deficiency can result in pellagra, as we've discussed, and therefore a balanced diet becomes extremely crucial when we're looking at getting our essential micronutrients such as niacin. Now, niacin-rich foods are again your cereals, fish, your meat, chicken, turkey, mushrooms, peanuts. So you don't really need to go and have very expensive nuts. We are looking at a population which is very diverse. We would see, like I have patients who, can't even afford 2 square meals sometimes. So for them, asking them to eat almonds, walnuts, pistachios may be really difficult. But they can eat peanuts, and peanuts itself is a very nutritious food. And I think we have peanuts in a lot of our recipes, whether we make a pohe, whether we make sabudana khichdi, peanuts is a part of it. Even peanut chutney, or we add peanuts to food. So peanuts is again extremely good. It's a good source of MUFA fats and also a good source of niacin. It's also a good source of resveratrol, the same nutrient which is there in your red wine and we say is heart protective. So peanuts does the trick. We don't need to start drinking wine. Okay, so peanuts and avocados, because some people can afford an avocado. So yes, they can have it. Folate, which is your vitamin B9. Again, we know the importance of folate, and the most importance folate gets is when the person wants to conceive or during pregnancy. And we know the importance. It is good for DNA synthesis, for your RBC cell production, and neural tube defects. And that's why we always tell people that when you're planning pregnancy, please make sure that you start on folic acid supplement even before you get pregnant. And when we're looking at anemia, we have to look not only at iron, but we have to also look at vitamin B12. We have to also look at your folate, which is your vitamin B9. Your iron. So all of this is very, very important when we're looking at anemia. Another important thing is we have to rule out celiac. We've recently had a child whose hemoglobin was 4. And just putting her on a gluten-free diet because she was not diagnosed on time. She had celiac, and just putting her on a gluten-free diet, today her hemoglobin levels have come up to 11, and this is very commonly seen today. So we have to definitely look at underlying causes that may, impair the absorption of your nutrients. And celiac is definitely one which we have to rule out, because we are definitely seeing a large population of people today. First, it was thought to be a problem only of North India. And therefore, in South, they would never screen for celiac, even for people with type 1 diabetes. But today, we do screening of celiac at diagnosis of type 1 diabetes. And anybody who's reported stunting growth or low hemoglobin levels, celiac has to be ruled out. So folate again. So folic acid supplementation becomes important. When you're looking at folic acid foods, you have your fish. Again, if you see egg yolk, you have moth beans. I think matki is something which everybody loves. Even children love it. So matki usal is something that we can, ask them to make. Your rajma, I think every child, every adult loves rajma. So we always tell them that at least once a week, ensure that you have rajma in the diet. Your cowpeas, dry peas, your leafy vegetables like spinach, ambat chuka, agati. So all of these can be included in the diet. Now, one thing we have to keep in mind when it comes to folic acid is that folic acid can be easily lost during cooking. And therefore, the way we cook the food, our grandmothers used to make the green leafy vegetables, she would always close the lid. Because when you close the lid, you're actually preserving the nutrition. If you're going to keep the lid open and cook a vegetable for a long time, all the nutrition is lost. Therefore, how we cook the food is very important. So if you want to preserve the folic acid, make sure that when you're cooking the food, the lid is kept closed. Then we're looking at zinc. Again, zinc got a lot of importance till they diagnosed mucormycosis came into the picture. But till then, zinc was another superhero, which everybody started taking supplements. And we know the role of zinc in immunity. Now you have your nuts and oilseeds such as sesame seeds. Again, if you look at sesame seeds, are til laddu. Okay, or we add sesame to different kinds of food. So again, very simple things to incorporate into our diet. So sesame seeds is again a very rich source of calcium as well. So this is something we can ask people to take. Our pumpkin seeds. So you don't have to go and buy pumpkin seeds. The pumpkin seeds you take, you sun dry it, keep it in an airtight box, and you can have the pumpkin seeds. So it's again very good. So it's like making the best out of waste. So even the seeds of our, whether it's our watermelon seeds, in fact, watermelon seeds are also very nutritious. For people with high blood pressure, we actually advise them to take watermelon seeds, but of course, unsalted. What people do is they go and buy it from the market, which are salted. So it takes care of one thing, but it will increase our blood pressure. So we have to very clearly tell them when it comes to seeds and nuts, even peanuts, it's unsalted that we are recommending. Almonds, your cashew nuts, all your legumes like chana, your masoor ki dal, akha masoor, beans, milk, whole grains, egg, poultry. Now, if you look at all this, this is easily available in our day-to-day food. So if we eat our simple traditional Indian food, we do not need to take supplements. People will always ask us, should I take supplements? Should I take, my multivitamins? I tell them no. If you're eating a balanced diet, if you're coming to me for nutrition consultation, my job is to give you or to nourish you. It is not put you on a diet where I'm going to remove your nourishment. So I think they have a misconception of a dietitian. They think that dietitian ke paas jayenge. Typically, when they come to us, they will eat 2 samosas, they'll eat 2 vada pavs and come, because they say, Madam, abhi aap to humko bhuka rakhne wale ho. And I say, that's not the case. We are here to nourish you. We are going to help you enjoy and get back the joy of eating into your life. Vitamin D, I think this is again become another concern today, because people are just supplementing vitamin D even without having vitamin D deficiency. They feel weak and somebody else is taking it, so they are taking it. So yes, vitamin D deficiency is something that we're definitely seeing, but we always tell our patients that please do your levels, consult a doctor, and then take vitamin D, because hypervitaminosis, especially vitamin D, is becoming extremely common, and we're seeing it a lot on in the papers today, and even in the media we're seeing it. So again, vitamin D is a concern. Now, if you look at vitamin D, most of the sources are non-veg foods. So people who are becoming vegan or vegetarian, they definitely have to look at taking supplements of vitamin D. And you do have fortified foods today which are available, but fatty fish such as salmon, mackerels, which is your bangda, your tarla, which is sardines, and tuna, do have vitamin D. Again, if you see egg yolks, and that is why we ask people to take the egg with the yolk. and of course sunlight. And I think today that is our biggest problem. Today I feel so sorry when children come to me because they do not even get half an hour to play. They go in the morning to school, they come back from school, they run from one tuition to another, and there is no time for activity at all. They come from school, then they sleep because they've left for school very early. They take that 1 hour nap, and then they're running from one tuition to another. I feel so terrible to tell them that take out that half an hour to exercise. When will they do it? So that is becoming another big concern today. Calcium, again, healthy teeth and bones. It regulates normal health rhythms, and definitely calcium deficiency is what we are seeing in the in the diets today, especially in the early years. So tetany and muscle spasm, hypertension, formation of kidney stones, joint pain, osteoporosis. And that's why we always tell women, and that's why I feel happy today when women come, because it is so important that they take adequate calcium through the diet or maybe supplementation, is for the future years of their life. Otherwise, we definitely see osteoporosis setting in. Recommendations are there for the calcium as well for different age groups. Now, every mother will say, some children don't like to take milk, and then the mothers will come and complain in the clinic that you please tell my child he's just refusing to take milk. So what do you think? To ensure good calcium intake, it is necessary to have milk every day? True or false?
No, false.
Okay,
no,
false.
no.
So exactly, because some mothers, they insist and the child is not willing to do it. And I feel anything that you take with a dislike is not going to nourish your body. You have to enjoy what you're taking. You have to take it with a very positive mindset. And therefore, we have enough foods which are there. We have ragi. And ragi is again a part of our traditional Indian food. Okay, our ragi ki bhakri that we make, or ragi dosa that we make, or ragi satwa that we give our children. Then curd. So if they don't take milk, and if they take products made from milk, such as curd or paneer, it is good enough to get the calcium. So we don't have to force them to have the milk. And sesame seeds. So that is why sesame seeds are actually a powerhouse of nutrition, and sesame seeds is something we can encourage. So as simple as a tilka chikki or tilka laddu is something that we would give. It's better than having a processed or, chocolate from outside, which may not really give nutrition. So this is something we can give our children, especially if they're going down to play. Then a good with tilka chikki or a laddu would be an ideal snack to give, because that will give them nourishment, as well as that will give them their calcium, as well as all the other micronutrients. So these are all our sources of, our calcium. Even soya bean, especially for people who are vegan. We do have a large vegan population today, a lot. In fact, I had a very young boy, Punjabi boy, from a hardcore non-vegetarian family who decided to become vegan. And the mother brought him to me saying that, please tell him to eat non-veg. I said, he's not going to listen. But we just educated him on how to improve his nutrition, even though he's a vegan. And he really improved his health. So there are a lot of vegetarian vegan sources which will provide them with the essential nutrients. I think Rajgira is another one. Let's say if you see during fast, Rajgira is an integral part of our diet. Because Rajgira is another powerhouse of nutrition, especially post-menopausal. We always tell women to include it because it's a very good source of calcium. So that is something that we can again include in our children's diet. Again, Rajgira chikki is a very inexpensive food. I think that was our energy bars. We didn't have to spend 50 rupees and 100 rupees and 200 rupees on energy bars. We had our simple chikki, which we really enjoyed. And that is what we have to bring back into our children's diet. Then you have iron. I think iron is again a very, very important nutrient, and we definitely see iron deficiency anemia. And deficiency, we know of iron. I think this is something which everybody would know. And yes, the NFHFS, the National Family Health Survey recently that was released, have shown that in spite of so much of education, in spite of so much of awareness, then the iron deficiency is even going higher. So that is a very, very sorry situation that we're definitely seeing more iron deficiency, and the highest is in Gujarat. So that is something that we have to look at. So yes, what is the ARs? This is the AR for iron. And again, this is another thing. I think lots of myths around iron. I can have a book published only on myths around these things. Okay, so beetroot, a lot of people, in fact, if you see on social media, also you'll have these experts talking about eating beetroot for iron. Okay, so is it true or false? I've already answered.
False.
So beetroot is having only 0.76 milligrams of iron in 100 grams. So it's honestly not a rich source of iron. It's a good source of folic acid. So therefore, we've seen that beetroot juice helps. In fact, beetroot juice is very good for any child who's wanting to pursue athletics. Before a sport, giving them beetroot juice will actually improve their endurance, improve their performance. So you don't need to go and have something very expensive, those different kinds of drinks which are available. Beetroot juice does the trick. Very good to lower blood pressure as well. And there is a lot of evidence to show that. But there are other sources. So, I was just telling Dr. Anjali yesterday, everybody thinks palak is a rich source of iron. Everybody will eat palak because they think Popeye eats palak and therefore he's strong, so we should eat palak. But honestly, palak is not a rich source of iron. And palak paneer, whom we all love so much, every buffet that we plan, every party that we plan, we'll have palak paneer. It's great to taste, but as a food combination, it's not the best, because palak is a rich source of iron and paneer is a good source of calcium. And iron and calcium are those people who fight to get in. They are not the best combination. So they are. So when they both are taken together, they will fight for absorption. And therefore, palak should be taken by itself and paneer by itself. But if you're having palak paneer as a dish, forget the nutrition. Okay, take it because you like it. Okay, so the best source of iron is actually red amaranth, which is your lal mat. So this is something that we could encourage. Again, the color is the same. So, we always have this thing that anything red colored means it has iron. Again, jaggery being a rich source of iron. I know a lot of people will eat jaggery because it's got iron, or they will make laddus out of jaggery because it's got iron. But jaggery in the olden days was actually made in iron utensils. And that is where the iron came from. Or even the poha. I remember when I studied nutrition, we learned poha to be a rich source of iron, because the poha was hand pounded in containers which are made of iron. And that is where the iron came from. But today it is no longer hand pounded in iron containers. And that is why it is no longer a rich source of iron. So therefore, jaggery being a rich source of iron is a myth. So cowpeas or choli, which is again consumed commonly, brown chana. So this can be a good snack. You put some kachi curry to it, you get the vitamin C, you get the soluble fiber. Excellent. Children love it. And especially this weather, it is the best to have. Your bajra. Bajra is a good source of iron. So bajre ki roti, or in some places they make bajre ka raab. This is again very, very good. So this is something that we could bring back to the diet. So, bhakri, which our grandmothers made, this is really good. So we have seasons. In the winter season, we usually eat bajra because bajra is considered a heaty millet. So bajra is eaten during the winter season. Ragi is eaten typically, jawar is eaten in the summers. That is how we distribute it. But every millet has a lot of nutrition. And remember, millets use very little water for growth. So you don't need too much of water. They're not water guzzlers. And millets today, you have so many different varieties of millets. And we can have one session only on the different kinds of millets and recipes. And again, these are all the rich sources of your iron. So your red amaranth leaves, again, your drumstick leaves, dill leaves. I think shepu. Shepu is something we all like. And shepu with moong dal or any dal tastes lovely. Or even just chopping the shepu and having it with, as a raita turns out very nice. So this is something we can, so we have to, when we're discussing recipes with children, we actually they feel so happy because they feel, oh my God, I have so much to eat, that they forget what they can't eat. So there is no urge or no craving to eat anything which is unhealthy. Then Malabar spinach. I don't know how many of y'all make it. It's called mayalu. So that is something that is, we call it valchi bhaji. I'm from Karnataka, and that is what we call it. Roasted chana. All these are rich sources of your iron. Now, one thing you have to remember about iron is also that drinking tea or green tea after food will reduce the iron absorption. And therefore, we give it for patients with thalassemia. But that is only in that condition. But otherwise, having tea or coffee or green tea after food will reduce the iron absorption. And like in the olden days, when we had our thali, they would always keep a small piece of lemon with our plate. Anything. Continue that practice or ask your patients to continue, because when you squeeze lime on food, lemon works as a transporter of iron into the body. And therefore, it works very well. Anything which is vitamin C rich will help in the transport of iron into the body. Vitamin B12, again, a very, very important nutrient. This is something that we see deficiency. And we also see this deficiency even in non-vegetarian people. So again, their absorption, there's a problem with the intrinsic factor. And very important point that I want to make here is that people who are choosing to be vegan or pure vegetarian should look at their vitamin B12 levels, and if required, they need to supplement it, especially those who are vegan, because then they don't even have milk and milk products. Then iodine. Iodine, we all know it's supposed the thyroid gland, better cognitive functions, and the deficiency can be quite infant mortality, endemic cretinism, and all of this. Now, again, iodine, I think there was a lot of efforts by the government for fortified iodine salt. And this is again very important. Eggs and sea fishes. Now, one thing I would like to bring to your notice is iodine is mostly present in your non-veg foods, and therefore, when we are doing fortified iodized salt, then it is fine because we won't have those deficiencies. But today you have a lot of people who choose to become vegan, and on top of that, they will use colored salts like pink salt. So that is where they could have iodine deficiency. In fact, Sonam Kapoor actually came out on social media and she spoke about it. That please, if if you're vegetarian or vegan, then you please supplement with iodine because she landed up with iodine deficiency. So therefore, it's very important because today people are choosing to use, they think the different colored salts, the lesser sodium it has. And a lot of people are now having pink salt, and I don't know how many colors of salts come. So they fall prey to all of this, thinking it's got more micronutrients. But yes, they have to take care to see that they don't become iodine deficient. Now, while having said that, we have the National Institute of Nutrition, which has released this food plate. So we're looking at all the food groups. So like we said, eating from each of these food groups to ensure we have diet diversity. And today, when we're looking at even calorie restriction, if we are saying, okay, somebody, the child is overweight, we want to restrict calories, we don't restrict calories too much. We emphasize on physical, activity. We emphasize on improving the quality of nutrients. But very important is to bring about diet diversity. And I'm going to give you a few tips on how we can tell our patients to improve their diet diversity and nutrient density. So therefore, this is your healthy plate, ensuring that we fill our plate with vegetables, a cereal, millet, starchy vegetable, and your protein group becomes extremely important. Now, these are all, like I said, more color on your plate. So make the plate look more appealing. More color, the child will feel like eating, and also it will bring the child more nutrition. And if you look at all our vegetables, you have so many different colors and inexpensive. Not that you have to go and buy exotic zucchini and, the red and yellow bell pepper. Simple food is good enough to meet our nutrition. Now, getting innovative with food. And this is what we really, really emphasize. If you look, so making the food look more colorful, making it look more appealing, more healthy and nutritious. This does the trick. I think this is the most important thing. And if you look at our Indian traditional foods, there's a lot of, nutrition which is there. We don't really need to take any supplements. So therefore, focusing, we have to tell them what they can eat, getting more innovative with food rather than tell them what not to eat. I think that is a mistake we do. We start with, you can't eat this, you can't eat that, you can't eat this, rather than telling them, okay, you know what? I first ask them what you like to eat. Tell us your favorite foods. You should see that broad smile on their face, and then they will sit and enlist. They'll say pizza, and we can make it more healthy. We can make the pizza more healthy. In fact, we tell them you use the base, a ragi roti as the base for the pizza. And then on top of that, you put all the toppings. In fact, they enjoy it so much. And they say, wow, it tastes better than the outside pizza. So for that, we have to use our creativity. Now, vegetables, I'm sure, all of us, even with our own children and even with our patients, we encounter getting vegetables into their diet is very difficult. In fact, we have certain patients who eat only bhindi 365 days a year. In fact, one of my patients, the child went to the US to study. The parents organized for bhindi to be delivered to the hostel every single day to this child. And I was like, y'all are going really to a different height. And today the child has learned cooking and she makes bhindi for herself every day. So this is how it is. So, this is what they do. So stuffing vegetables in a paratha, they wouldn't even know. Adding vegetables to the soup, making vegetable cutlets, kneading your dough with your vegetable puree. There's so many ways of incorporating vegetables. And in fact, the children wouldn't even know. Like I make a pasta at home and my child doesn't know that I don't use maida. I use oats. So I grind the oats and I, then use the oats, I saute it and I make a white sauce out of oats. It tastes wonderful. So you don't need to add maida. So you just need to get a little creative. Today, there's so many recipes which are there on YouTube. Oats Paneer, this is another thing that we can give. They taste very nice. So you take oats. So, we're talking about a food plate. You take one part of oats, or even rava will do for children. You take one part of a pulse. It could be your besan, or it could be moong dal, or it could be mixed dal atta. You add buttermilk to it. You grate vegetables. So you've added the foods from all the 4 food groups. You have your vegetable group, you have your cereal group, you have your pulse group, and you have your dairy group. It becomes a balanced plate, and it is there in one recipe. So especially for mothers who are hard pressed for time, find it very difficult, because sometimes children go to school as early as 6:37. Very difficult to get up and make something fast. So this becomes very nice, and adding oats actually makes it more crisp. So, giving parents overnight soaked oats is another favorite recipe. And this is something that I make. And it's very simple. In the night, take some seeds, chia seeds if possible. Or if you don't have chia seeds, you can do anything else. You add oats to it. You add milk to it or curd to it. And you keep it overnight in the fridge. Morning, you add some freshly chopped fruits and some crushed nuts. Mix it up well, a drizzle of honey, and it's ready. You don't have to cook it.
Yummy.
It's yummy. Absolutely. And it's great if the child has a PT day in school. This will be extremely nutritious, and it has got, again, all the food groups. It's got your cereal, it's got nuts, it's got your dairy, and it's got fruits. So it's everything combined. So whatever is a seasonal fruit, it looks so colorful. Children love it. And having it chilled is excellent. I'm sure I'm increasing your appetite now. I don't know how many of you have had your dinner. So again, now I'm coming to the next part of my topic, which will take me around 10 minutes. This is nutrients in food. We're talking so much about vitamin A, vitamin C. We said, okay, this food has got rich vitamin C. But am I getting the vitamin C from the food? That is the question. And that is what we're going to discuss now. A variety of things. We know, right from harvesting to storage to growing to everything, from the farm to the fork, nutrition is lost. And therefore, we have to ensure. That's why we're talking today about local. Eat local. Eat what is closest to your place rather than getting something. People say, I've exported it from wherever. But it is not something which is close by. How much of it is lost during the whole process of it coming to your plate? And therefore, we have this whole thing of FIFO, first in, first out, because we want to get the maximum. And therefore, we're looking at farm to plate. So nutrients can be lost either because they are milled. Today, you have a lot of polishing, processing that is happening, or we are having peeling of vegetables, peeling of fruits. And I'm going to discuss each of this. In fact, there's a chapter on this, which is there in my book, Diet and Diabetes Simplified. It's authored by my colleague. It's a beautiful chapter, actually. So fertilizers, high use of nitrogen fertilizers reduce the vitamin C content. And therefore, today, a lot of people are choosing to go organic. But again, organic is not easily available. It is expensive. And therefore, that is a choice. Some of them can afford, most of us can't afford. Milling cereals such as wheat, whenever you remove the fibrous husk, that is where you lose a lot of your B vitamins. And that's why we say the more unpolished you eat, the better it is. The more polished you eat. Today, even millets, though we are saying they are good, some of them are polished. So therefore, we have to look at getting more polished. So the more uglier they look, the better they are for health. A farmer once told me, the uglier vegetables, the uglier the fruit, the better it is for your health. So don't go looking for that glossy looking, very attractive fruit, because it won't give you the nutrition which an ugly fruit will give you. So nutrients are lost when husk is removed after milling. Blanching, especially when a food is frozen and then heated very quickly with steam or water, which we do. Especially peas and all, we keep it in the freezer, we remove it, we put it in hot water. That is where all your vitamin C, your vitamin B complex is lost. Even palak, sometimes we go and put it in hot water, so we blanch it. That is where your nutrition can be lost. Canning, food is heated when you have these canned foods. Now, water-soluble foods, vitamins are lost because they are very sensitive to your high temperatures. Freezing actually would retain it. So freezing will, the nutrient value is basically retained, but any nutrient losses are due to the processing prior to freezing the food. Now, pasteurization, it involves heating liquid foods such as milk and fruit juices. The nutrient value of milk is generally unaffected, but when it comes to fruit juices, pasteurization can cause losses of your vitamin C. So, when you're having those pasteurized juices in those packets, we really don't know how much vitamin C we are getting it. Dehydrating, drying out fruits, especially today, you will see you're getting chips. You're getting dehydrated chips as a snack. Especially, it's very common in Thailand, and today we're getting it increasingly in India as well. So drying out foods such as fruits can reduce the amount of vitamin C they retain, but it can concentrate other nutrients, especially it can concentrate carbohydrates. It can concentrate the fiber in the plant foods. Dehydrating the food also makes it very energy dense. Therefore, people will ask whether eating a mango is better or eating mango chips. Mango is definitely better because mango will have the moisture content. When you dehydrate it, it will have more sugar content. Therefore, dates, you have the kacha, you have the fruit as a date now. It's available in the market. But the moment you have dried dates, they're concentrated sources of sugar. And especially for people with diabetes, they will increase the blood glucose levels. And that's why today we are saying not to go on any of these kind of crash diets, especially when it comes to our children with type 1 diabetes. Or today, gluten has become a big villain. A lot of mothers choose to go off gluten, not only for themselves, but also for their children. And therefore, a lot of foods are avoided in the bargain. But very important is if they do it, they have to do it under the supervision of a medical professional who will understand and will help them ensure that they get their nutrients from other food sources. So very important is to choose fresh seasonal fruits and vegetables. Very important is seasonal. And I think each season has a wealth of different kinds of fruits and vegetables. So that is important to ensure that nutrient losses are not happening. When you buy fruits and vegetables which are out of season, they've got a long way to travel from farm to fork. So remember, when that happens, nutrients are lost. Locally sourced vegetables means lesser chances of nutrient losses as far as possible. I know a lot of parents will peel the apple and give the child, will peel it. No, wash it well and give it with the peel because that is where you'll get the fiber. Even the potato, I in fact tell my patients to cook the potato with the peel. And that is something which we've been doing. I think our grandmothers always did it because that is where the nutrition is. Today it's very popularly in a continental menu, it's called as jacket potatoes. And it is, that's when we enjoy, but ghar pe what same potato is given with the peel, we'll not enjoy. But that is what, and today, today, in fact, I spoke to a client and she said, after you told me, I've started eating the potato with the skin. So potato is not the villain, but to get the fiber from the potato, get the nutrition from the potato, eat it with the skin. And I think Maharashtrian households have it with the skin. So that is where the beauty is. Wash it well and then have it. Carrots and cucumbers. So wherever possible, have it with the skin. Remember, more vitamin C is in the broccoli stems than the florets and the cauliflower greens. And therefore, the cauliflower greens also should be utilized in cooking. That is where the most vitamin C is. So this is something which is very, very important. And the hard center core of the pineapple has actually a higher source of bromelain, which will actually help to aid digestion. And therefore, people who is having indigestion, we tell them to have pineapple maybe in the evening time because it actually helps. But the center part of the pineapple, which is hard, is a better thing. So, we should ask them to eat that. So nutrient losses with air. So some vitamin C is lost during cutting of vegetables and fruits. And when cut vegetables, especially if you see, some people will chop all the vegetables and they'll keep it in the fridge. Now that is where the nutrition is lost. So very important is cut vegetables just before cooking wherever possible. Do not chop and keep because that is where you lose the nutrition. Vitamin A is readily oxidized. So then the absence of air, vitamin A is not affected. So cut salads and fruit just before you're going to serve them. Don't make, especially when, we chop it, we keep it in the fridge and then it remains there. If you're keeping it, keep it covered. Very important to cover it in an airtight container. Serve salads, gravies in closed dishes because everybody's eating at their own time. So make sure that you close the dishes to avoid exposure to air. Avoid excessive trimming and cutting of fruits. That's why if you see, some people will make sure that even the stem of the vegetable, they keep it. They use it. They will use it. So it's like making the best out of the waste. But that is where you get the maximum nutrition from. Use the outer leaves of the cabbage. We always throw the outer leaf of the cabbage. But the outer leaf of the cabbage has the most nutrition, especially the most vitamin C. So wash it up well and then use it. We can make some, like a cabbage roll out of it. It tastes very nice. Nutrient losses with water. B complex vitamins and vitamin C are most unstable and are easily dissolved in water. Repeated washing of food grains like rice and pulses results in loss of valuable minerals and vitamins. Broccoli, spinach, and lettuce may lose up to 50% of vitamin C when boiled and discarded. Vitamin C is also lost when vegetables and fruits are washed after cutting. So therefore, very important message that we have to give our patients is avoid soaking vegetables before. We only tell people to soak it if they have a renal problem, like a kidney problem where we want the potassium to go. That's when we will tell this, because then they are also on supplements. But for regular people, just wash the vegetable well. Very important is first to wash and then chop. If we chop and then wash, our nutrition is lost. And when we are chopping the vegetables, don't chop it too fine. Chop it a little bigger, because that is where we'll retain more nutrients. The finer we chop, the more nutrition is lost. Water used to soak, boil, or blanch the vegetables, we should use that water. We can use it to knead the atta. We can use it for gravies. We can use it for soup. So make a vegetable stock and keep. And that is what we can use for our gravy so that we retain the nutrition. Do not wash food grains repeatedly before cooking. Wash them well. And very important is we make paneer. I, in fact, tell all my patients to make paneer at home. It doesn't take too much time, because outside paneer, because I see a lot of children with type 1 diabetes, I can be very sure and I can say that paneer, when they are making, they add cornstarch or they add maida to it. We are seeing sugar spiking up with paneer, though paneer is a low carb food. So therefore, I tell my parents, you make the paneer at home. The way water which is left, you use that to make a soup or to knead your flour. So that is the best way to at least get the nutrition, or you can just flavor it with lime, salt, and pepper. Then nutrient losses with heat. Some vitamins are heat labile and get destroyed when exposed to too much heat, especially your thiamine, your vitamin B1, your folate, your vitamin B12 and vitamin C are very unstable and are easily destroyed by heat. Longer cooking time. That's why we say, eat the vegetable when it's just crunchy, especially cabbage. When you chop the cabbage, first you wash it, you chop it, and you put it on the gas for less than 2 minutes and close the lid. So it should just be crunchy. When some people cook the vegetable in so much of oil and they fry it so much that the vegetable has got zero nutrition. It's only got taste and calories. So that is not how we should eat it. And that is how I think even our grandmothers made the vegetable. It was so easy for them. They cooked in less than 30 minutes. Everything was done because they really did not put so much of heat treatment on the vegetable. So this is again very, very important. So cook for minimum time, enough to make the food palatable and safe. Avoid reheating the vegetables several times. Say we know, even if we are cooking, say for 2-3 days, sometimes it's difficult. We are time pressed, or sometimes we are traveling and we want to cook and keep. You just remove a portion of food which you are going to use and keep the other food in the fridge or in the freezer if possible, so that it still preserves more nutrition. So avoid reheating the food, because the more you reheat, the more it will actually lose nutrition. Cooking vegetables by steaming. So steaming is the best way to preserve nutrition. And this is how most of us cook our vegetables. And we should encourage that as the best way to cook our vegetables. And cook it with a tight-fitting lid. Now we come to light. Now light is very important, is because most of your vitamins like vitamin A, B2, B6, B12, vitamin E, K, and folic acid are light sensitive. Riboflavin, which is present in your milk, is susceptible. Now, why I'm talking about this point is sometimes we warm the milk and we keep the milk open in the kitchen with the light on this. That's where we lose our riboflavin from. So therefore, even when we warm the milk, close the lid and allow it to cool so that we preserve that riboflavin. So see, such small important points, but we will get the best of our nutrition. So keep the milk refrigerated and tightly capped, and keep the raw salads and cooked food covered so that it does not lose its vitamins when exposed to light. So the way we cook our food also, some people say, can we eat only raw food? No. Cooking actually improves the palatability. It improves the bioavailability of nutrients as well. It definitely makes the food more tastier. It breaks the parts of the vegetables which are indigestible. It destroys bacteria and micronutrients, especially salads outside in restaurants. And they will never tell my patients to eat raw salads because of H. pylori infection. And we are seeing it even in the elite population who eat in 5-star hotels. So careful cooking makes it more. And sometimes it also helps to get the essential phytochemicals in the diet. For example, tomato. We all know that tomato is a very rich source of vitamin C also, but it's a very good source of lycopene, which is very, very good and a potent antioxidant. But actually, the cooked and the pureed tomato has got more lycopene content than the raw tomato. And therefore, if you look at again our Indian recipes, we will just use a lot of tomato puree. Everything is pyaj tomato, puree. And that is where we get our lycopene from. So that is why we all are blessed with good skin. We do not have so much of skin cancer issues like the people in the Western countries. So again, lycopene is a very, very potent antioxidant. And lycopene, and so again, adding fat to food. A lot of people prefer going fat free. But adding fat to food, it helps in the transport of your essential nutrients, especially your fat soluble nutrients, vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, and vitamin K. And therefore, if you see even, some of our salads, we will add a drizzle of olive oil to it, or we will add some crushed peanuts or some crushed nuts, or we will add curd, kushumbir we will make. Why? Is because it helps in the absorption of all your fat soluble nutrients, which are so important. And that is why certain recipes should be had in the way it is supposed to be made, traditional way. Java's chutney. Today we're all talking about the importance of flaxseed. But again, flaxseed, just having it as flaxseed itself, a lot of people will take 1 spoon of flaxseed and gulp it with a glass of water. It does no good to your health, because flaxseed, to get absorbed in your body and to give you benefit, it has to be lightly roasted, powdered, and then consumed. And that is where our Javaschi chutney, Alshichi chutney comes into the picture. Again, our grandmothers didn't study nutrition, but they applied the principles of nutrition so beautifully. And therefore, certain foods, we should not look at it in terms of calories or whatever. It is giving us nutrition. Again, soaking of grains and pulses, this is very important. We all have this practice of soaking pulses overnight. And that is so important because this will help to reduce all the anti-nutritional factors, such as your fat phytates, your tannins, and therefore help in the absorption of nutrients, because phytates and tannins can impair the absorption of nutrients. So therefore, even if a food has got nutrition, it is not bioavailable, because there are other anti-nutritional factors. And therefore, soaking becomes very, very important. And soaking of nuts is another thing which is practiced. Then boiling, again, use water just enough to cook. And very important is boil it with the skin, especially when we're boiling a potato and a sweet potato. Because when we boil it with the skin, all the nutrients go to the center of the potato or the sweet potato. So we retain it. The moment we remove the peel, we've lost the nutrition. And therefore, boiling with the skin becomes extremely important. Again, fish. We all promote fish as an omega-3 food. But then we go and fry it in so much of oil, shallow frying. And everybody thinks that shallow frying takes in lesser oil than deep frying. Honestly, the answer is that deep frying takes in more oil, lesser oil than shallow frying. Because when you deep fry, the oil is so hot that you introduce the food in that hot oil for a short period of time. So it absorbs lesser oil. Shallow frying, the food is fried for such a long time that it absorbs all the oil. So therefore, a puri may have, lesser oil than a paratha. So that is again important. So fish, the moment you fry the fish, you've lost the omega-3. So therefore, having it as a curry or just, we put it in the gravy and keep it for a short period of time. That's where the vitamin 3 is preserved and retained. Steaming. I think steaming is one of the best ways of cooking food. So whether you're steaming your sprouts, even sprouts. That day somebody asked me, why should we not eat raw sprouts? Because I told her to steam the sprouts and she eat. She said, don't you think that raw is better? I said, no. One is because of the microbial load. We want to kill the microbes. So steaming is better. Secondly, steaming makes it more bioavailable. The nutrients become more bioavailable when we steam. So even when we're having sprouts, especially in the night time, we prefer nothing raw because it causes more flatulence and gas. So even salads, we do not prefer raw salads at night. Slightly steamed, sauteed would be an ideal choice in the night time. And again, it is the best way to preserve your phytonutrients. Now, sprouting. I always tell mothers, keep sprouts ready, because in the evening when the child is hungry, this is the easiest to do. Make some nice sprouts chart. Now, corn is available. Corn is excellent and children love corn. And have corn by itself, makka. Squeeze some lime on top and it's very nutritious. It's got a lot of fiber. It's got, a lot of nutrition in it. So that is the best thing that we can give children. So in the, in the rains, Instead of having those fried chips and pakoras, you give them makka, corn. Excellent. So that would be a good thing. And sprouting actually improves the vitamin C content and the B group vitamins. So sprouting again is very, very good. Then you have sauteing. I have already spoken about it, that certain foods, when you saute them with a little bit of oil, it actually helps in the absorption of all your fat soluble nutrients, especially your beta carotene. Your carotenoids will need some amount of fat for absorption. Your lycopene and all your fat soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K. Grilling. I want to make this point because today a lot of people have started now eating grilled meat as a dinner option. Raat ko sirf soup and grilled meat because they want to lose weight. But remember, when we are exposing our meat, especially with fat, to a flame, it produces a substance called as PAH, which is polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, which is carcinogenic. And therefore, we will lose weight, but we are very susceptible to getting cancer. And therefore, we have to make sure that we remove all the fat from the meat and then we grill. Do not expose it to high flame. So grilling is not the best way to cook, especially if it is a lot of fatty meat. Because some people put a lot of fat in the meat. They keep the fat because they think that the fat will give the oil for the cooking. Fermentation. And again, if you look at our Indian recipes, fermentation is a very integral part of all our foods, whether it's our idli, whether it's dosa, whether it's dhokla or anything. It actually produces beneficial enzymes which help in digestion. Today, there's so much of talk on probiotics and prebiotics. And again, this is again a very important thing to help to maintain gut health and improve immunity. Fermentation of milk to curd, lactose gets converted. So very important is, though we say no to milk for people who have lactose intolerance, curd is easily managed. They can easily handle curd. So curd is easily tolerated by people even with lactose intolerance. So curd can be consumed. Fermentation of pulses helps to improve the anti-nutritional factors. So therefore, even when we are making anything, fermentation of, especially when we are doing the idli and dosa, and it increases the vitamin B and C content in the batter. So fermentation is something we definitely, today, I don't know how many people will actually make the batter at home. They all go and buy these ready-made batters. So there is no effort, but it's easy. But I do not know whether those batters really have the entire thing or whether they've got maida added to it. Especially when you buy those loose packet. When I was talking to a South Indian restaurant owner, because I saw my patients with idli and dosa sugars were going high. So I asked him, I said, why is it, are you all adding something to it? He told me, madam, dal is so expensive, we add maida to the batter. And they also add sugar to make it crispy. And we enjoy it, but actually we do not know about the nutrition part. Again, when we were kids, I remember our summer vacation was spent cleaning the rice, cleaning the wheat and all that, going to the dalan, going to the flour mill and, getting the atta. Today, nobody knows what is a flour mill because everybody gets ready-made atta. But we do not know how much of maida is there in that atta. So how much of nutrition is really going. Frying, again, do not use oils with low smoke point. Lot of people, they say we have switched to olive oil completely. Again, not necessary. Olive oil is a very low smoking point. So if you're going to fry an olive oil, then that olive oil should be either pomace olive oil or light olive oil, which is the most inferior quality of olive oil, because otherwise it is going to be more harmful. Oil used once for cooking, do not use it again for cooking. You can, suppose you're using that oil to fry papad, do not use that oil again to fry papad. Use that oil to give tadka, because otherwise it is going to be more harmful. Alkaline medium. Adding cooking soda when preparing the food makes the food, cooking medium alkaline. It enhances the color of vegetables, fastens the cooking process. However, a lot of people add it, especially in restaurants, because they want to cook food fast. A lot of them will add baking soda, but it destroys all your B vitamins, vitamin C and vitamin K. So at home, as far as possible, avoid adding cooking soda to food. And storage. Very important is when we're storing it in the fridge, it has to be stored in airtight containers, not in the plastic containers. They should be BPA-free containers. Keep vegetables in the crisper section of this. My last slide. Today, FSSAI is making a lot of efforts and they've used the 5 vehicles, which is your oil, rice, wheat flour, your milk, and salt, which is fortified with vitamin A, vitamin D, iodine, iron, vitamin B12, and zinc. In fact, they're even looking at, getting other fortified products in the market, But yes, this is something which is an effort from the government to ensure that there is no malnutrition in our country. So to conclude, growth in children can be considered continuous when observed across different periods of spurts and status. Very important is to look at micronutrients. Our Indian diet, our traditional Indian diet, if we follow the plate method with a little emphasis on, color, ensuring diet diversity, nutrient density, looking at farm to fork, right from the time it is grown to from where it is got, to how we cook, to how we wash, to how we chop, to how we store, we can preserve nutrition, and we will not have our children having malnutrition. So thank you so much for your patient hearing.
That was amazing, Cheryl. So many things, so many myths busted, and so many new things learned. Thank you very much. And if there are any questions, DIAP, can I have them? Do we have time for questions, Dr. Hemant? Renu?
Yeah.
Yeah. So can we have some questions on the chat? But yeah, I wanted to ask you, Cheryl, about khajur. They say that khajur is also a rich source of iron.
It is not.
It is not.
It is again a myth. It's not the richest source of iron. Like what I showed you would be the better. In fact, Kalonji, in fact, the new, when the previous iron book was released, it was the garden cressy. It is alim dana, aliv. When women deliver is when it is given.
Yeah.
That is a rich source of iron. But today, kalonji or onion seeds, and again, onion seeds became very popular in the COVID times. I remember in the supermarket, everyone was looking for kalonji because it was believed to, boost immunity. But kalonji is a rich source of iron as per the new data. So we usually tell people to take kalonji and you soak it in lemon juice because you need the vitamin C to transport it into the body. And then have it. And it really works. In fact, one of the patients we've given today, she told me that her hemoglobin has never been above 10. And today she did it was 11.6. So it does help. That's another thing we can give. It's onion seeds.
And kalonji is also used in pickles.
Yeah, it's used in pickles. So that is something that they can use.
They say pickles is a very good probiotic. Is it true?
It is. But then again, we have to look at the amount. The problem is to say anything, that it is good. People will only look at that and then have it in abundance. Anything in moderation is fine. So that is what, in fact, some people from eastern part of India, I tell them to have some, Panta Bath is a very popular thing that they have, eastern part of India. It's Panta Bath is where they store the rice in an earthen pot in water overnight. And then it undergoes fermentation, and that is what they have it in the morning. And that is excellent for gut health. So when I tell those East Indians they can eat it, they feel very happy because that has got very good, B12 as well as it's very good for the gut health as well. So that is something we can also promote. In fact, there's a paper that I've written for the Nutrients Journal. It's for reinforcing traditional Indian diets in the, back. So I will share that with you. You can maybe share it with the others because we've actually looked at our Indian foods and how they really help.
Another question is, how about non-stick pans? Are they good?
Yeah, non-stick pans again, today we do not really promote it because what happens is that Teflon coating, especially when people heat that non-stick pan, and then they go and immediately put it under water and you'll hear that sizzling sound. And then if you see that Teflon starts coming out and people still continue to use it, that can actually be very harmful and in fact cause more harm to health. And therefore today we tell them to use, nowadays you get these steel containers and all of that, like those vessels, and we tell them to use that. It's not really necessary to use. If they're using, they have to take good care to maintain that Teflon. Yeah.
And does cooking in iron pots really increase the iron content of our food?
It does. In fact, that definitely. So again, we have to buy, you get iron. Only thing is they're very heavy because I myself have changed my utensils to that. They're very heavy to use, but they, again, with patient experience, we've seen that the hemoglobin levels go up by just cooking in iron pots. So that's again a good way to do it. So, looking at maybe changing your utensils helps.
Sometimes
aluminum is something we do not really promote because today it's linked to Alzheimer's. So
what
aluminum.
Aluminum. Yeah. There was some time ago, Tata had come up with iron fortified salt. Is that available and is it recommended?
I have no idea about that. Iron fortified, I'm not available, but I'm not aware whether it's available right now.
Okay. Yeah. Any other questions from any of the other office bearers? What is agathi? You had mentioned agathi.
It's a type of a vegetable, green vegetables only.
Okay.
Agathi. There's so many green vegetables. In fact, we tell people in the rains, of course, we say that, consume it because of the infection. But otherwise, especially in the winters, we tell them make sure there's a green vegetable every single day in your diet. So, that is something you can emphasize. If you want to keep it very simple, one pulse, I tell them there are so many different. Even if you look at Maharashtra, you have moong, you have matki, you have choli, you have rajma, you have chole, you have val. So many different. So every day one pulse so that you get the essential, the protein, the fiber, the micronutrients. One green leafy vegetable is a must. So whether it is palak hai, methi hai, your lal mat is there, your chauli is there, your shepu is there, so many different kinds of greens that are there. Mayalu is there. So many different things. That is something that you could. So I think even if we just focus on these things, that itself is enough. You don't really need to make it very complicated, because I've seen that anything which is too complicated requires too much of elaboration in terms of recipe preparation. It does not work. So something simple. Again, it depends, how we work on it is, it depends on the individual. Like I told you, there was this mother who was saying that 45 days I don't repeat an item. So that mother has a lot of time, versus we have a lot of others which do not have that. And today's cooks, you can't burden them too much. They leave the job. So we are very, very, concerned about and cautious about that fact also. So we first ask them that, do you have help? Because otherwise it becomes too much. Cook separately for the child, and if they have in-laws at home, and then the husband having his own likes, the wife wanting something, cooking differently becomes too difficult. And we always say that inculcate the right habits in childhood. Very difficult to change the food habits. I'm sure women here will agree with me that it becomes. I always tell them that this is the time, to do it. And making it more creative. I think that's the thing, just making it more interesting. So now the next book that we are coming out with is a recipe book for children.
Wow.
Because parents keep asking us for recipes, and we started so I thought that is the best thing, but these are something that we've tried and tested, and that is our next book that we are coming out with.
Lovely. Looking forward
and also
to
we
that.
should involve the children while cooking. That's why they will get interested in eating also.
I did that during the COVID. So I used to, on my social media, I used to put out recipes. My son used to demonstrate. In fact, he was invited by the Food Future Foundation to demonstrate a recipe to school. So he did a ragi pizza.
Wow. Great.
I think that helps, because that actually helps them understand the concepts of right eating and healthy eating.
Yeah.
The schools is a big problem today. We're looking at school menus. There is samosa on the menu, and there is, what do you do? And you're not allowed to bring food from home. And that becomes a big, big challenge. We have recently a newly diagnosed child with diabetes. They're not allowing food from home. But in the school, what the food that is served is very, very high on fat and refined carbs. And it's impacting the child's sugar. So that's a big concern. I think we really need to work at that level.
Sure.
So how often can we allow a samosa or a vada for a?
I think everything in I follow the
moderate.
Moderation.
80% of the time eat healthy. 20% of the time you can, and it's not called a cheat meal. It is something that you indulge in because you like it. I tell them eat it in the afternoon, because that's when you're more active. You'll eat lesser in the night. So instead of going out for a dinner, I always tell people go out for lunch. Like a Sunday lunch would be ideal, because then you can be a little active, maybe walk around in the evening, do some physical activity, and then have a lighter dinner. That way you don't feel guilty and you have still enjoyed yourself. So I think giving them these small cues and tips makes a big difference.
Dr. Hema.
Nowadays our traditional shops of kurmure, shengdane, chane, futane are disappearing. So that should be brought out. I think so. Whether that disappearing has an impact on this nutrition also.
It does. It has a big impact. In fact, that's the whole thing. I tell about peanuts. As simple. I think peanuts is the best thing. But people don't want to eat peanuts. They want to look at exotic nuts and exotic things. Who can afford, yes, but our peanuts are itself good and it's a powerhouse of nutrition.
And also about chickpeas, most of the time.
Yeah.
And also about the chickpeas, most of the chickpeas they take from those two which are made in glucose, which is nothing doing good.
Sugar.
It should be traditionally made, probably at home or the places where they use the jaggery or the what.
Jaggery.
At home, we tell them to do. We ask them to make these balls of either dry nuts you can use, or even peanut with dates, and we tell them you keep it. That becomes very easy. Date chana roll you make, that becomes very easy also, and that will even help for that sweet cravings, or having a small piece of good good chana we have. So traditional recipes. And again, if you look at season, we have gazak, which is there in the winter.
Yes.
We have till laddu. So I think getting back those things is very important, but moderation. The thing is, if it's in the house, we keep eating thinking it's healthy, and by the time we realize it's eaten a lot of calories.
One suggestion as an association, whatever you are attached to, or whatever the things which are there at the national level, whether to give a legality to the whatever the now what is the famous in rural area also. These chips, Balaji chips, and these chips are very easily, and it is very, because I practice in rural, but still Adivasi patient, they spend at least 10 to 15 rupees per day on these chips.
Yes.
And whether as an association, can you just file the thing, something to bring them to the notice of Government of India? This should be rather banned, or rather something to be done about that, because it is really flourishing and the market is flourishing, and probably government will be getting good amount for that also. I do not know. What is your thought about that?
But I don't think
All Bollywood stars are brand ambassadors of that.
Yeah.
yes, they will not have
It is
sugar,
mainly,
but they will have. In fact, there was a social media forward of one of them saying no to sugar and then promoting fruity. So basically, all your aerated drinks have a lot of sugar. Like if you have a Sprite, a bottle, I'm sorry, I'm taking names, a bottle of any aerated drinks, half a liter of any aerated drinks easily has 12 to 15 teaspoons of sugar. So it's a lot of it. And nowadays in birthday parties, that is what we give. And I always tell parents, at least whom I come across, that, try and give healthier options, try and encourage. You be a role model. You become a brand ambassador for good health. That has to start somewhere. So we may not be able to curb that because it's difficult, but what we can definitely do is that we can at least be good host at home. Give a buttermilk instead of a Coke. Coconut water may be expensive, but at least buttermilk is something that we could give. Who can afford coconut water, give coconut water. Or you have different, or a lemon juice, but definitely not aerated drinks.
Dr. Hemant Joshi has some comments. Lack of salads is the major problem of our food. Introduce them.
Absolutely. I think that's a big thing, and children like it. In fact, even if you look at very small children, you just cut carrots and cucumbers into sticks, and then you give this will become very easy.
Yeah, dietary guidelines for Indian.
Tushar Godbole.
Yeah.
Serum
vitamin levels.
Says that sometimes as a surprise, the serum vitamin B12 level comes very high without taking any supplements. Any explanation for that?
I don't know. Maybe there could be some higher absorption, or somebody is taking a vitamin B. I mean, but he's saying no supplements. Because typically when we ask, they say, ki, okay, doctor ne diya tha, lekin humne continue kiya. We have taken it. We have not even gone back to the doctor to ask, should I stop? They don't do that. They keep continuing it. So that is another thing. So
again, there are two other comments. Dietary guidelines for Indians is available in 6 languages at NIN website. We can give you Marathi translation. All should read it and share it with all patients. Dr. Hemant Joshi. And one more comment from him, that the iron kadai of 100 rupees is most dependable source of iron for the entire family for lifetime. We give it to all, and 3,000 families in Sopara block, Topra block in Jharkhand became anemia free with iron kadai.
yeah. I think that is the best gift to give, rather than these very attractive looking cutlery and crockery that we give. I think that would be a good gift. I always tell people, instead of even buying an air fryer, which could be expensive and take a lot of space in our house, a simple appam maker, this paniyaram makers that you get, that is the best thing you can give, because you can make so much. We make batata vadas in it, we make sabudana vadas, we make vadas, and we have rasam vada, we can have dahi vada. You can make those appe, which is this paniyaram, and they taste so good. So that is so many things you can make out of it. So, when you all are, when maybe we can do this for our patients, if you're having some kind of a best patient award or something like that, you want to give
them an iron kadai.
Yeah.
They're an iron kadai or a paniyaram maker. This is what we do actually.
Iron kadai to all my IP members.
Please,
the year end.
please parcel it from today.
Give at Pedicon 2022.
Oh, great.
Don't give, Don't give laptop holders and bags. Give an iron kadai, or even just a iron ka fodni bhander.
No, we need kadai.
Okay.
And tawa also, tawa. Okay, I think we have come to the end of the session, and I think the questions have also been taken.
Dr. Renu, Dr. Renu, madam, you are thinking of bringing out recipe book. It is a good thing to come out, but more effective will be the small videos on YouTube of the making the recipes. That is rather reading, that becomes much more effective, I think so.
Yeah, we should.
And that will
a lot of time and effort, because making those ingredients and all of that.
You just tell them how to be made, and this Renu madam and this Sonali madam, this madam, Anjali madam will do the YouTube videos for you. So they will make the videos for you with you on the
But the first thing I'm going to make is to make a tilka laddu. Now my mouth is really watering.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. It's a good idea. We do have some recipes in videos, but we are so burdened with patients that we don't find that kind of time. But that is something we will maybe do in the future.
Dr. Renu, you are having activity for the nutritional week or nutrition day or whatever is that which is concerned to make the 7 videos on the 7 recipes, which is useful.
Yeah, we will see to it, sir, and you will have to eat it. Not on YouTube, but really in real.
I will come to Sambhaji Nagar.
Yeah, sure. So I will now come to the session of vote of thanks. As usual, it is with me. So I am very, very expressing my great thanks and gratitude to Miss Cheryl Salis, madam, who has very applause and a standing applause also. She has given a lucid deliberation on the topic, and we have seen her slides so excellently made that every slide I was thinking that I should capture in the video, photograph.
I have done
it. But we will get the recording also, I think so, link. So, madam, hats off to your efforts, and also congratulations for this excellent academic deliberation, and also for giving your valuable time for this webinar on today's occasion. I take this opportunity
Dr. Renu, madam, we will not ask you to share, but if you can just put a symbol of the copyright, make the PDF of that presentation. If you feel that it can be shared, it will be wonderful.
Okay.
In fact, as I said, okay, we'll do that. But my book has a chapter on everything that I spoke. That one chapter.
Okay.
Yeah. So okay. This was a wonderful academic feast.
Yeah, really. That was a very good micronutrient. We got it from
rich.
It was very rich in it. So I take this opportunity also to thank our MAHA-AP President Dr. Gangolia sir, Secretary Dr. Amol Pawar, as well as State Convener Dr. Jay Bhandarkar for giving this platform. I also thank my moderator Dr. Anjali Gokarna madam for her excellent support to this activity. I thank Dr. Neha Singh and DIP Akshita, and last but not the least, I thank Cachet Pharma for supporting this excellent academic feast, and also in near future we will get also newer topics from this side. So all of you are requested to attend this webinar for the next sessions also. And also thank to all the dear IAP friends, colleagues, seniors who have joined today for this webinar. And good night to all of you. And I think from today onwards, we will see our micronutrients rather than counting our carbs, proteins, or whatever fats. We will see to the micronutrients and all the things that Cheryl ma'am has told. So thank you so much, ma'am. For us also and for our patients also.
Thank
Thank you
so
so
much.
much. Thank you so much, Cheryl. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Vicky,
Good
Thank
night
you.
all.
Thank you.
Good night,
good
everyone.
night.
Good night all.
Good
Yeah.
night. Good night.
Good
Yeah.
night.